Have you ever completed grounded? Have you ever completed it 100%? To get that score, you need to complete a whole list of objectives and try and get that S-class score. Only the proest of pro grounded players can achieve it, and I'm hoping to join them today. I'll need to find every scab collectible, unlock every shop upgrade, collect every single piece of data and get every single milk molar. I'll also have to collect every creature card and make sure that I've completed every dungeon, defended every mixer and beat all 7 bosses. All of that in 100 days and going big and going home. Can I do it? Let's find out. My name's Jade. I'd really appreciate a like if you find this video entertaining, and let's go. We all know how to survive the first few days now, right? Kill some ants, take care of the mites chewing on the cable, and head over to the Oak Lab to hopefully talk to the demented Burgle. He'll give us some quests and some story, and you'll have just enough time to return home, make a lean-to, and maybe scan some of the bug parts if you've gone on a killing spree. And that was a super quick first day. Day 2, I headed out and got the rotten larvae blade, a staple when it comes to killing some of the ants, as it does a pretty good job, meaning hopefully I'll be able to get the red ant armour fairly quickly. As you can see, I was in need of it. Maybe at this point I should mention, I started out this challenge as a hardcore one. If I died, that was it, I'd have to restart. So I was being extra cautious, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to take care of this stink bug using my bow and arrow. Spoilers, I die at some point, hence why I got turned into a 100% complete challenge instead, as I didn't want to waste all the time I'd invested. So I'm a little bit more cautious. We took care of some ant soldiers, got some upgrade rocks in the forgotten anthill, and went and started crafting that ant armour. Day 3, we headed down to the red anthill, specifically looking for maybe the bee armour. The rotten versions would still give us a much needed boost in protection, as they were still a tier 2, and we got some eggs as well. I finished off today by going and getting the stinger spear in the T-Rex in the pond, and again this would help us out massively. Peeping creatures was crucial to completing a 100% challenge. You needed to peep every single one in the game, and that's what I did before killing this bombardier beetle. Admittedly, it was a bit tougher than I first thought, but now I had a shield, it was definitely a lot better to protect myself. I went and harassed all the larvae, yeah, the most annoying in the game for sure, until you meet their fiery counterparts a bit later, and then grabbed one of the omelette badges, another crucial part of getting 100% complete. Before heading home on day 4, we grabbed some of the berry chunks. I finally built a rudimentary small base at day 5, and we got ourselves a tier 2 hammer. This was pretty speedy, so I was making good progress. We started to now gather all of the raw science which we was going to need to buy every single shop upgrade, as that was also another component, and you can see that I was going to start upgrading by getting the milk molars. Again, another crucial part of 100%, you need to find every single one. So that's what we spent the early half of day 6 doing, collecting all of the milk molars. On the way home, I stopped off at the mint box with my tier 2 hammer, and we got ourselves our first candies. Also unlocking the fresh defense mutation by eating some of them. You don't need every mutation anymore, it used to be a requirement but no longer, but still handy to have, as I set up my sap farm, peeped and killed my first spiderlings, and then we settled in for the night. It felt pretty much like a speed run at the early stages. I now had obviously my aphid boots, which were definitely making it a big boost, and I ran over to the hedge as we started to think about completing it, or at least clearing out the first half before maybe coming back later when I was meant to be stronger. Took care of the old rusty boys here, and we went ahead and restored power to the resource scanner. I'd obviously pissed off enough of the orb weavers by killing their spiderlings that they were pretty annoyed with me now. Expect a raid very soon, as I cleared out more of the raw egg pods to try and get enough bug parts to craft a tier 2 axe. I was feeling pretty cocky, so we headed straight over to the berry hedge lab and started to complete it, even though I was probably still a bit underpowered. Quickly found the password pieces we needed and took care of the more tougher Taze teas. We'd be back here later to pick up some collectibles, but now I had the tier 2 axe, I got the rest of the password pieces, and we restored power to the closed door. This would then give us the burgle chip. This would now unlock zip lines and ladders, and crucially advance the story. We spent the whole night exploring the hedge lab, so in the early morning I managed to get to the observation post and pick up the recipe for fighting the broodmother later. Got 2,000 of that sweet raw science by handing a chip to Burgle, checked on them upgrades, and had a mysterious dream that saw out the end of day number 8. Day 9 I spent upgrading my armour that I had and getting ourselves a gas mask. I also taking out a bunch of creatures and finding corpses in the haze to hopefully get some extra bug parts. Pros of Grounded will know you should always head to the secret laboratory on the east side of the map, clamber up and get access eventually to the pinchwhacker, one of the best early game weapons, not to mention obviously the rotten berry charm too. With that equipped and the stinger spear, you could really do some toxic cloud damage against a whole host of creatures. We went into the ant head cave, the homage to the forest by the game devs, and picked up again the rotten ant club as well as another recon note. I did some cheesy parkour to get up on top of the bird table, which worked pretty well, and we took care of probably maybe the second most annoying creatures in the game. You guys let me know, is it mosquitoes or is it lava? When I got home, that raid from the All-Weavers commenced. Luckily I had enough resources to make a trophy, giving us some extra damage against them when you activated it. To be fair though, it wasn't exactly the most overwhelming raid, 2 All-Weavers and a big daddy one. The rest of day 10 I spent gathering water resources, killing a bunch of the bugs to hopefully craft the diving gear needed for the next day's adventures. The bone knife would be my favourite weapon, I would say, after spears, so I was looking forward to eventually getting it. But first we had to dive deep and get the actual resources, including the coir scales and hopefully some bones. So that's what we did at the start of day 11, diving deep, trying to avoid Trudy, the killer carp, before going very deep into the actual pond itself. Again, probably not the best idea until you've got more of the resources you need. We just about made it to the terminal to go ahead and get access to the laboratories before turning on the breaker, and now we'd have to go and find all 3 switches. But first I had to take care of Sparky Boy here. Oh, damn it, that was pretty quick. Oh, there we go. I went and did the hardest one first, which was in the broken parts of the laboratory. Switch 1, switch 2, and then eventually switch 3. Diving bell spiders, possibly number 3 most annoying bug in the game. Finished him off and then restored power. Dealt with the mini onslaught of tased teas before heading up to the actual dome itself. And another couple of the Arcar Sparkies, which are ripped apart with my pinchwhacker. Oh! Oh! Sneak attack! Grabbed a whole bunch of the muscle sprouts, obviously, to make our super smoothies, and we got the next chip. As well as turning on the power to the dome, this was the second major lab complete. I had a lot of work to do in the pond before we left though. I gathered more of the resources so we could get better upgrades, as well as the sunken key and a new omnant card in the wreckage of the broken lab. Not that I need this one much, it was meant to give you protection against the haze, but only about 90%. With the key, I opened up the buried treasure chest, more sweet molars, before more scanning of the brand new resources to hopefully unlock new recipes. On the exit out of the pond, I went through the secret laboratory that's underneath the depths, grabbed more upgrade materials, and finally we were clear of the pond as the end of day 11 came about. Handed in the burgle chips, got more raw science and a quick look at all the unlocks I'd got. Grounded pros start their day with a nice smoothie before heading over to the Forgotten Ant Lab to go through the underwater passage. I now had pretty much the best diving gear I could get hold of at this stage, so it was definitely going to be a lot easier than I've tried it in the past. More tricky diving bell spiders, lots of raw science, and plenty of scabs. Remember, I've got to get 54 of them scabs also to get the 100%. Get a nice refill of oxygen whenever you kill one of these guys, and then I quickly spent the rest of the time exploring the pond, gathering more resources, raw science, and rotten equipment from the caves that lead off the pond. Some though I'd have to return later when I had a tier 3 hammer. Finding some of the locations, again the landmarks that you need as data in Grounded is pretty tough, but we got this wedding ring one. Now I had 5 of these, I had now the Mertium mutation unlocked. With that extra speed boost and a little bit more oxygen, cleared out the remaining secret areas in the pond and we were done. I'd got as much as I could with the equipment available and then I headed home. Finished off the day by crafting my favourite armour and getting better upgrades for it before having another strange dream about me being tiny in some sort of lab being experimented on. Day 13, it was time for the haze. I went over to the exposed pipe, my preferred way to get in so you don't waste any bombs. Especially now I had the tier 2 dagger, we took care of all the little flea bags. More annoying than really deadly, although the diving bell spiders in here would give me a run for my money in a while. That sweet purple gold combo. Not forgetting the scab that was there as well, took care of the diving bell spiders, and I've got into the haze laboratory. They're quite deadly these guys, but I gotta say I love the sounds they make, they're so cute. Especially them exploding ones. I hadn't really talked about these skeletons. They're former Omnium employees been sent here to find Wendell, and obviously I was picking up the remains of their Omnium work badges. More T-boys to deal with as we gained access to the first part of the Haze lab. I analysed some of the fungal growth and we got some upgrades before venturing into the explosive room. This is pretty dangerous, so make sure you've got your axe with you, obviously a tier 2 one, before cutting away and hopefully getting through without getting blown up. This one was a tricky one, you have to jump right in, otherwise it will just explode. Got a bunch of resources and granola bars, turned on the power to the second and final stage, and it was time to take on the infected ladybug. Because we were doing this quite early, it was a bit easier. Sometimes there's more mobs inside this room. Oh, apparently not. Apparently not. That was me saying this was going to be easy. Maybe not as easy as I thought. I definitely had the wrong weapon here. I don't know why I wasn't really using my pinch whacker. I've just been programmed to think that a hammer is always good for some of the bigger creatures. Oh, oh, I nearly died there. Yes, I may be a little bit dramatic there, but don't forget this is still the hardcore challenge for me until much later. Oh, thank God. Oh, that's it, you kill that. You kill all the small ones. I did not know that either. But not the infected mites hiding behind the door. In bigger numbers, these guys can be pretty dangerous. You always want something quick to take them out with. Day 13 picked up the next burgle chip and of course more bombs, which I used one of on the way home to unloosen the spade, which would get us up to the picnic table a bit later on. Fed burgle another one of his chips and we got more unlocks. Crucially, the oven. Baked bug snacks incoming to give me lots of buffs and boosts. Day 14 it was down to another exposed pipe to get the key that would help us unlock the chest on top of the picnic table. Tufts are your friends just in case any of these narky bees do knock you over. Also managed to grab some crow feathers and I met a black ant for the first time. So what did I do? I gave him a friendly poke in the eye. The bees also wanted a friendly poke. They were pretty annoying to take down, especially with maybe not the right weapon here. What was I saying about having a tuft? No! Oh my God! Oh! It took a while, but I managed to get back up to the Minotaur's maze. Took out another one of the bees. Slightly more success with the pinch whacker this time. Before getting the stage 2 coup de grace by turning the dice onto 20, if you didn't know that. Chest opened with the melted maze key and I had another burgle chip. This would unlock a lot of the candy modules. On the way home, I went and collected a bunch of milk molars that were on the way. You need to collect 75 of the milk molars and 45 of the golden ones to get 100%. And of course, making sure you spend them on your actual upgrades, where I usually focused on health and stamina at first. Bombardier beetles were on my hit list as I needed a ton of their bug parts to make ovens, especially for the mushroom making, as well as the candy processing later. Things were definitely getting a bit easier now I had much better gear. Went and spent all the milk molar upgrades, especially also getting extra mutation levels. Before another strange dream. Don't eat cheese at night time, kids. Early part of day 15 I spent getting upgrades and sorting out a lot of my inventory. As the sun dipped down I went over to explore the trash zone, taking a look at a sickly roly-poly, picking up a whole bunch of raw science and getting more of the milk molars. What I was really after though, not just the places to find, was enough black ant parts so I could craft a shovel. But of course milk molars were always welcome too. I had to venture into the black ant hill to see if I could find a soldier, as I needed some of the mandibles to craft the tier 2 shovel. Maybe gas arrows weren't really doing it, nor was my aim. But eventually we took one out and I had enough mandibles now that I could go ahead and craft a shovel. I was rudely interrupted on my way to the oak lab to hand in the burgle chips that I'd got by this ore weaver. These guys weren't particularly hard nowadays. One thing that would bite me in the butt later on was I wasn't completing a lot of missions, as until now it wasn't going to be a 100% challenge, and so I didn't have a lot of raw science. Look who forgot to turn their camera off. Yep, I recorded all of this footage you're seeing from my live streams and my Let's Plays, and this is pretty much the mega edit. So you'll have to deal with my beautiful face as I take on multiple enemies as I try and get enough resources to craft ovens. Enlisting a bit of help as well from this ladybug to take on the bombardier beetles, and then obviously I did the right thing and finished her off, although she did give me a little bit of trouble. Oh no! Whoa! No! Ooh! Whoa! He did so much damage. Oh, it's because I've not got decent armor on, I just realised. Just about survived and just about took it out before spending the rest of the night going to explore the sandbox for the first time. I'd repaired enough of the zip line with my silk rope that I managed to make, and I took on the first antlion. These guys will play an epic important part in my one life challenge ending prematurely, but that day wasn't today. This poor antlion trying to live his dream as a parkour champion, maybe just not meant to be. Yes! Now you meant to wait till like 3 PM for the sunlight to hit the right spot, but after years of playing grounded, I knew exactly where to go to get the next key that would open up this chest, giving us the recipe to a really good weapon, the salt mace. Got ourselves some spicy cha-chas for the first time as well, and I went to investigate some of the antlion holes, but first we had to get rid of this big guy. More of these tanky little gits inside. No longer can you hit them when they're in the ground, you have to actually wait until they pop out. But by now I had an upgraded black ant shield, so I was definitely doing a lot better in protecting myself. Picked up a whole bunch of salt as well, and this pretty much meant I had nearly all the candies apart from sour to go ahead and start upgrading a lot of my weapons. Yes, oh it's daytime, I left it too late.
I'm sizzling.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, it was time to get out of the sandbox on day 17 as quickly as I could before it got any hotter. Oof. Bonsai! My little collection of trophies was growing, giving me more buffs and damage against them. I'd killed enough antlions now that I could go ahead and craft all of the antlion armour, which the main use was getting all that sweet charcoal pieces from the fallen over grill. It's always good to also eat or make sure you've got fresh defence maxed out, so I'd eaten 10 of them already, and we picked up another omnant badge in another skeleton. I tend to not use the omnant badges, they've got negatives as well as plus points with the bonuses, hence why you don't really see me talking about them too much. Some are really good, but particularly for maybe beginner players or early game players or certain specific classes, I felt like I was alright with usually just my tuft or the rotten berry charm. Got the mega milk molar inside the actual grill itself before I burned to a crisp. Then I cleared up some more of the pieces before getting another golden molar hidden behind the wolf spider's lair. For all them bombardier beetles I'd killed earlier, I had enough to at least craft one oven, but I definitely need to kill a lot more to get the boiling glands. Then I realised I hadn't unlocked the candy pieces, instead just mushroom bricks, so I still had a lot more work to do to get the full candy smelting. Day 18 began with me hunting down mosquitoes as I wanted their blood bags to make blood bombs. Definitely need to improve my aim a little here, wasn't exactly setting the world alight with my crossbow skills. A bunch of weed stems on the way home as well, and we got to work building my farm. I was intent on building my fortress made out of mushroom bricks, hence why I hadn't moved or changed my base much. So finish off the day setting that in motion, and then the next day it was about just making sure my crops are growing the right stuff. In the afternoon we headed over to the Black Ant Hill once more, this time intent on actually completing it. I'd made enough of the blood bombs to see me through maybe, and now it was through the maze of corridors and special access areas to try and get through to the mini boss. Also remembering how tough black ants can be sometimes if you don't necessarily have the right gear on, but my stinger spear was doing pretty good. It's getting stuck on this ground. What a shame. What is the deal with my head missing? This biometric. Hey! Hey! That's not fair. Access 8 open. I took care of some tased teas as we explored and eventually made our way through to the actual doorway. Black Ant Hill can be quite challenging for newer players, but I was an old pro at completing this one. Last of the taste teas taken care of, and then it was activating door B. We'd made really solid progress and I hadn't really used up any of my heals, so this was all going to be good for taking on the boss, which we were close to. Pretty handy mutation to have in this area for sure, the Ant Annihilator doing extra damage against ants, which I'd obviously got by killing so many of them. Quick milk molar, and then it was time to go into the assistant manager arena, using the bomb to blow up the glass, and then yes, activating the button and taking on probably one of the toughest fights you've got. In fact, I'd rate the assistant manager as tougher than some of the other bosses that you'd face later. You really do need kind of the biggest or most upgraded gear you can get at this stage, level 4 or 5 at least, with a lot of either ladybug armour or maybe even black ant armour. He's not too bad on his own, even when I'm using the wrong weapon, again with the hammer. It's when his traps come alive that stuff really goes a bit turbo. Ah! Ow! Oh, sugar! No, stop pissing about with that and put something ease on. There we go. Not sure perfect parry was really helping here. Quickly recovered and made sure I was skipping over the laser beams. The freaking laser beams. Oh my god, this is much tougher doing it in first person. Ain't gonna lie. Even with the arc R's spawning and a bunch of the lasers hitting me, it still wasn't that bad. It was always the static charge poles that really did a lot of damage. Oh! Ow! It burns! It burns! Oh my god! Quick! I whittled him away enough now though that the end was in sight. Just a few more hits. Just needed to keep my composure and block more of the static charge shots. Come on! Come on! Come on! Yes! Come on! Get in! Calm down dear, it was only a boss fight. I unlocked shocking dismissal, which gave extra shot charge when you blocked. But more importantly, we had the assistant manager keycard now, and the fourth and final story chip needed to progress. Took a little gander at stuff that we'd have to complete as well. Again, part of the 100% challenge is completing every single one of the 8 mixers. We grabbed the black ant chip and some more story, and we legged it out there pretty quick. Quick return to Burgle, and now finally we had unlocked the advanced smelting, which meant I could craft new armour upgrades as well as weapon ones. I spent a whole day inside the Black Ant Hill, so now it was day 21. It was time to move my base over from the baseball to my new location. My favourite and best location in Grounded, the flower bed in between the lower and upper yard. Of course these bombardier beetles didn't really want me moving in, but we sorted out our differences with the help of an axe, and I slowly started to move all my stuff over. I built a zip line as well to help with that, and things were a lot quicker as I completed the rest of the day doing this. It did actually take a long time to get everything moved over it, so that's what I spent most of day 22 before day 23 starting to get more of the upgrades needed to craft even more ovens. Started day 24 with a cookout with them ovens now up and running, making lots of the candy globs and mighty globs that I would need before going for a dive and open up the secret doorway with the assistant manager's keycard. It's located just underneath the oak tree, hidden away inside this small laboratory. Inside you find a little piece of Wendell's Kids bracelet, a bunch of upgrade rocks, but more importantly, the stump laboratory. This is obviously where I'd need the recipe to fight the mantis later on, another requirement of 100%. That same keycard could be used for the pagoda laboratory as well, to again get a whole ton of upgrade rocks and stuff. For some reason I decided to head over to the sandbox just to go and get some milk molars that I'd missed out on, particularly the one inside the plant pot. Make sure you bring plenty of mushroom bricks to get this nice and easy. I've been getting a bit tired of going up to the picnic table and then back to the sandbox. Decided to maybe build a direct route back to base. Oh, he's fighting them! Oh, I'm getting involved, I'm getting involved. Totally an opportunist, taking advantage and taking on the wolf spider that was tangling with some of the ant lions. Then I really remembered what I was here for, to open up the laboratory that you can't access unless you've got the assistant manager's keycards, to pick up another burgle chip. It took nearly all morning to get enough of the stems from the small flooded zone to finally get over and get my zipline up and running all the way back to base. Day 26 was spent mostly building a zipline tower, not the best one, realising bricks are not the right thing to be using, it should be grass planks. And on day 27 I went over to that stump laboratory that we'd now opened access to. Again, not the best idea as I was still pretty undergeared with not the right kind of stuff, but I felt if I was quick enough I could get in here and get the mantis recipe and a whole ton of stuff more. I guess I wasn't quick enough though, as I got tagged by a few ticks and then of course the wolf spider. Woo! Hey! Oh! 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 Sugar! No! No! This was a mistake! This was a mistake. I should never have come here. Yeah, I wimped out and I ran away and didn't bother trying to kill it. The laboratory was in sight, I just had to get up there quick enough. Another one that you really need to bring a tough with, otherwise you're going to have to be jumping on these little ledges, and I quickly made my way down to what is in the game's probably most toughest parkour area. Now, I hadn't even taken care of the broodmother yet, but I was going for the mantis research note. I just wanted to get everything in place first before also maxing out more armour. Made my way through the annoying parkour eventually, that all important milk molar. Just about made it through, but again I had forgotten to pick up Sarah's second part of her charm, which was pretty useful for later boss fights. With the burgle chip also here, it meant I now could go ahead and craft upgrades levels 5 to 7 and really improve a lot of my gear. I could also now utilise a lot of the tier 3 supreme stones to go ahead and upgrade too. Finished off the night gathering huge amounts of the clay needed for smoothies and maybe a bit of parkour later, by finishing off at the Barbie doll rip-off, the Christie doll car for another milk molar and some sour pieces for the first time. Day 28 I messed around with some more zip lines, handed the chips into Burgle. We had plenty of raw science left over as I've been storing it up to go ahead and buy the upgrades for the Mighty Jewel, Supreme Plating, Supreme Whetstone and more advanced smithing. And that's pretty much what I did with the rest of day 28, just crafting and making a whole bunch of the upgrades and maybe adding a little bit more for the base. Not to mention getting my crook on for the first time and making some meals. I went and checked out the dried trenches on day 29, taking care of plenty of the ladybird larvae. Both, maybe actually they're the first and most annoying creatures before being yeeted by this guy. Whoa! Whoa! I never knew that was a thing! First encounter with a black ox beetle, I tried my hammer and it was doing okay, but being tier 2 it wasn't exactly the best. And for some reason I thought my dagger might even be better. Nope. Pinchwhacker is the one I should have been using all along. These guys are going to be crucial if I wanted enough upgrade parts later to go ahead and get max upgrades. Then a visit to the termites in the small termite hill. In big groups these guys are no joke. My toxic spear and obviously the trinket was pretty much doing the trick. There were some big fat upgrade rocks in here as well. At some point there was just simply way too many of the termites, so I had to make a slight tactical retreat and take them on one by one of them. Got the last of the upgrade rocks for now, although I would still need a tier 3 hammer to get the rest later, and the high density scab. Another black ox beetle attacked me on the route to trying to find some of the termite soldiers, as I needed their parts to go ahead and make the tier 3 axe. So just about managed to lure them away from the main hub and then got the resources needed. Probably one of my favourite weapons is the termite axe. It's so versatile and pretty strong, you can utilise it in so many ways, especially if you upgrade it down the fresh path. Day number 30 I showed everyone how not to go through the haze area. I was looking for crow pieces and stupidly I didn't scan them, so I decided to go through the haze with the toxicology badge equipped, except I didn't actually have it on. Oh no, that is too much. That is way too much. That is way too much. Wait, oh no! Oh, sugar. Oh. No! Oh my god! What have I done? What have I done? Let me out of here. I've got to get out of here quick. Stupid idea. Quick. Oh my god, look at that. That was so stupid. My one life challenge was nearly done. I went home for a breather after that, and day 31 spent and continued my search looking for more crow feathers. I was pretty much out of luck. There wasn't any around the yard at all, and when I did finally use the scanner, it was showing that there would be some maybe in the fallen barbecue zone or the sandbox. That's some nonsense! I was highly unimpressed with the scanner telling me absolute nonsense. I topped up on more candies while I was in the sandbox before eventually finding some in some of the chests, the crow feathers I needed. Started out day 32 getting more mushroom bricks for another trip over to the dry trenches to get more candy. Dust mites were definitely annoying though, so I had to take care of them first. I also managed to gather more of the salt needed, as well as pupa hide for the first time, We're going to need a ton of this to make into puke leather for upgrades, weapons and armour. Another black ox beetle defeated. And another clearing out of an exposed pipe for that sweet raw science and milk molar. Day 33 was a stay at home and manufacturing day, while I also got the tier 3 hammer. And now I had all the correct tools that I could get more advanced gear like the splinters and rust before being ambushed by one of the stinkies. There we go. Day 35 I spent most of it gathering weed stems and grass planks to start thinking about building my next big base. Day 36 I went and mopped up more of the pond stuff now I had the tier 3 hammer, as well as obviously getting more of the mussel sprouts. We went back to the weird ant cave and got loads of the upgrade rocks. I also found time to make my favourite weapon, the rusty spear, which I used to defend myself on day 37 against a lava raid. Days 38 to 42, it was time to get my build on and make another mushroom castle. I know, I always build here, some of my regular grounded viewers will say, but it really is the best spot. You're halfway between the lower yards, you can make forays into the upper, and it's pretty safe. You can't really get attacked by any creatures, even raids are really hard for them to really engage. I've been obviously cooking up a whole ton of mushrooms, so I had enough to build a moderate size castle. I just needed plenty of grass planks and obviously acorn pieces to finish off some of the stuff. Then just simply had to move everything in and we were pretty much done. I had the idea of having a central vault going through the centre, which meant that I could craft pretty much in one spot, pull in all the resources. So that's what I was trying to do with the middle. I even had time to add the brand new chimney, obviously attached to the fireplace, and my cozy levels were starting to build up now with the latest update adding the cozy features, giving you buffs so you wouldn't need to eat and drink as much, as well as some other stuff, including this delightful ant candle. I admired my work on day 43, but I still had a lot to do, so I kept gathering more materials ready for the next part of the build later on. Day 44 I returned to the hedge as the brand new update that added cozy features to the game was now live. It meant I had to go and get a super duper disc, which would allow me to go ahead and duplicate any item for an exchange of raw science. There were 3 of these discs and the first one was in the hedge. This would be able to duplicate low level items for a small cost of raw science, although I was trying to save up my raw science anyway. I also picked up the figurines, collect enough of these and it would give you the ability to go ahead and steal bug parts when attacking them. En route home I went and took care of some fireflies as I still hadn't crafted the heavy miner's helmet, which would give me some light in the dark. And I went and checked what actual items I could make with the super duper disc. Day 45 I wanted to get more trophies made and I definitely knew I needed a lot more bee fuzz as it was a big requirement of so many of the stuffed creatures too. I took some pot shots and managed to lure a few from the picnic table. Isn't he so cute? Days 46 to 48 I pretty much spent time getting the rest of my castle built and upgraded, including these nice little mushroom stairs that came as part of the latest update, before returning to more adventures in going to the Haze laboratory, breaking through the first original way that you're meant to go and picking up the second figurine as well as the second super disc. Day 49 I crafted the Salt Morning Star just before heading off to the pond to pick up the third and final super disc as well as another figurine, which was well hidden and probably the hardest one to find in between the 2 broken down corridors of the lab. And of course stocked up on some more mussel sprouts. I'd now be able to pretty much duplicate any item, any charm, so that if I really wanted to, I'd never worry about one getting lost. Day 50 was here, halfway through, and it was time to go to the woodpile to take on a bunch of termites. Probably the most annoying because there's just so many in the woodpile before you get to the objective, which of course would be the termite king. The salty mace was too slow, so I relied on my spear as I gathered all the milk molars and more upgrades, and finally got my way through to the king himself. And yes, I'm going to cheese it. There we go. With him tagged, I legged it back and managed to get through to the spiky ones that I not managed to chop through, and there we had him in my sights to go ahead and rail on him with some range before getting up close and finishing him off. Yes! Sucker! Grab these body particles and the rest of the gear, including the burgle chip for the wizard's outfit and more, and return to burgle. Then spent the rest of the day 51 tidying up my base. I hadn't killed any wolf spiders, not properly anyway, and I knew it was time to try and get the Mithridism mutation before heading up and further exploring. Wolves are kind of still scary to me, I can't help it. Oh, they're so hard in first person, I ain't gonna lie. I'm not a big fan of fighting in first person. It was still mentally in my mind that they were still tough to beat from the early days of Grounded. I was starting to realise I could actually do this pretty well. I wasn't just here for the fun of it though, we desperately needed to get more of the cement now going. I had plenty of ovens, but I was conscious about getting things ready for the mixers later and definitely wanted to try and get that cement up and running quickly. And of course, now I had much better gear, it was finally time to get the sword in the stone, aka the katana. One of my favourites, even if it has been nerfed to pretty much almost uselessness now. Trick with this is to hide on the sides so that you stay cool, then rush in and take care of all the annoying larvae. You kind of want their attention, to be honest. As long as they're hitting you, they're not hitting the thing. Obviously you still needed all of your antline gear and maybe some cool mints to keep them at bay, and certainly something fresh. The spear is always the best option. But I was just about keeping them on down low. I'd only taken a few hits and we did it. Yeah, sucker! And we unlocked guard dog mutation, which would come in clutch much later, but surprisingly I forgot about it for the first few mixers, as you'll see. I went back home, crafted the katana up. Like I said, it's still one of the most badass looking weapons and absolutely more than capable of decimating every wolf spider on the map. And that's exactly what I did on day 53, hunting every single one to get max mutation of Mithridism. Of course, the main reason for getting it is still to really take on the broodmother, as it's still definitely one of the best weapons with it being so weak against spicy and of course blades. And that's what we did on day 54. The latest update had given her a bit of a revamp and I felt she was a lot tougher than she used to be, so it wasn't going to be a walk in the park. Oh, ow! Okay, she's got minions. She's got, oh my, 20 minions. 20 minions. Don't look, poor spiderlings, I'm about to murder your mother. And don't forget, I'm still on my 1 life challenge at this point. Oh! Nearly died, nearly died. I honestly don't remember having so many of the actual mobs spawning in protection, but I quickly took care of them, and then it was the one final showdown. Come on. Yes! Mom's genes activated, taking the broodmother out. This meant I could now go ahead and craft what we needed to summon the mantis boss fight. There we go. Boom, baby, boom. But there was one big problem. I'd forgotten to go ahead and peep the broodmother. So yes, luckily I had another summons on me. We quickly used it and took it out once more. Let's just say my confidence was maybe just a bit too high. I used a lot of my heals in the first fight and... this has gone wrong! This has gone so wrong! Heal! Please, heal! Give me... For sure, I wasn't about to try it one more time. I'd done the job and I was out there. It wasn't long before the spiders wanted retribution. As I finished scanning the rest of the broodmother stuff, I had a raid incoming from the orb weavers. But with my katana, I made quick work of them. It was a pretty productive day after that. I went and got a bunch of salt from obviously the sandbox. Walked up a couple more upgrade rocks that I'd missed. And then as I made my way over to try and see if I could kill a few termites in the termite den, I was seemingly in control against a couple of ladybird larvae. Something went wrong and I started losing a lot of health very quickly. This is what happens when you don't have any antlion armour on, and they nearly got me. Took care of the black ox beetle guarding the termite den. And I went and finally cleared out the rest of the upgrade rocks and the raw science that I'd missed last time. I spent pretty much the whole of day 56 getting upgrades for my gear, including my favourites, the aphid boots. Day 57 I took on some fire ants for the first time, as we made our way slowly up to the table to turn on Wendell's scab. A little parkour later and we done it. And of course we were going to stop off and get toenails for the first time, see if we can make maybe the toenail shmectar, which was something I'd never really messed around with too much. And of course a remnant from events gone by, the candy corn. Put the battery in, activate the scab. We're really getting close to the end of the major story content that you need to complete Grounded. On the way back down, I went and scouted out some of the dust mites, making sure we got plenty of obviously the lint as well. Day 58 started out with me going to get the milk molar inside the trail cave and then taking a diversion via the black anthill to mop up some of the stuff that I'd missed previously. If only I'd gone home. This was a live stream that I was doing and I was literally just finished and saying goodbye, but I'd gone and decided to do this last few bits and bobs. I went and got the milk molar that's obviously inside the black ant cave as well. And I was making my way through the sandbox with the intention to literally get home and finish the stream. But of course, Grounded had other ideas for me. Put loads in your base. Oh yeah, it's the worst. It is the worst. Well, we've got 3 things here. Oh, you know what? I don't need to be involved in this. Laters. Oh my god! No! No! Fudge! I was hungry. I was about to end the stream. I was like, oh, I'm done. Yeah, let's just get home. It was all over. Our hard life, hardcore, one life, whatever you want to call it, challenge was finished. I'd already released a whole bunch of these as single let's plays, which of course you can go and watch every single one of them still up in the playlist. And it felt like I'd come too far to just chuck it all away now. So I decided to make it into the 100% challenge. Could I complete the rest of the game in 100 days, getting absolutely everything? It was going to be tight, but I think I could do it. It's day 59, I went and took on a bunch more of the ladybirds and got myself the ladybird shield. And now I'd really have to be careful about peeping everything so I could get every single creature. And we took out the green shield bug as well. Got to sell some of the pop caps, which are going to be really useful for the bomb arrows later. I really needed a bunch of candies at this point, so I carried on my adventures that day. Got a whole bunch of the mint ones. And I went and cleared out the top of the tarpaulin from the wood pile, as I knew there was a bunch of stuff I hadn't actually gone up there to get yet. A few nice easy kills with the wolf spiders. This is throwing me a little bit, getting the mosquito involved as well. Get out of here with your third party nonsense, mosquito. And I finally got lucky and got myself the mint candy accessory. Whoop whoop! After crafting the charcoal torch on day 60, we went and got the coup de grace mutation part 1 and of course a whole bunch of upgrade rocks. With all their mints, I now had more upgrades that I could craft and I went about getting a poison build. I was lacking some key bits, but obviously the Mask of the Mother Demon was the major one. And as the sun set on day 61, headed over to the broken stump and then got ourselves a forged trinket. Along the way taking out some mites for the first time and of course peeping them. Honestly, still one of my favourite accessories in the game. It's just such a good all-rounder to have that general health refill and everything else that it gives you. And then we finished off the rest of the night gathering more of the candies and of course the milk mirrors as you saw, before fighting off against a wolf spider that ambushed me on the way home. Day 62, it was time to head to the undershed. What dangers lurked? What bosses would we come up against? What horrors would we find? Well, you're going to find out in the next minute or so. Grab the recipe for the fridge freezer, which has newly been added here in the last few updates. And then we step foot into the undershed itself, hoping to avoid a lot of the black ox beetles and taking the far right route to try and get to obviously the mant boss fight. A little bit of parkour later, jumping on the lucky coin and plenty of jewel bugs here to hopefully get more upgrades. Once I remembered how to actually use a spear. They had the last laugh though, as one managed to knock me out of the pipe, which was not in the game plan, and I had to deal with a bunch of mosquitoes and of course then go through the black widow layer. I managed to lure out a couple of the black widowlings along to make things a bit easier before taking on their mama. And there she was. Could I defeat her with kind of maybe not the best gear at the moment? Maybe. The toughest creature in Grounded. Yes, I think this is honestly harder than some of the bosses that you'll fight, certainly at this level and stage of the game at least anyway. Your best bet is usually generic weapons as she's least resistant against them, but I would also say that fast moving ones are good too. Surprisingly had a fairly good fight against her. I was holding my own and only got poisoned by her venom a couple of times. My skills as a Grounded player were surely growing, or maybe I was just getting really lucky. I ended up going with the pinch whacker because I mistakenly thought it had generic damage, forgetting it's actually a hammer, but regardless it was doing the trick. feel the electrical force in me. Yes! Whoop whoop. I of course grabbed the upgrade rocks as well as the milk molar that was here and made my way through the rest of the lair, taking out more of the spiderlings before coming up to the point where you see all the roly-polies and a bunch more rocks. I was trying to be extra careful that I would pick up everything I needed for 100%. I then had a moment of madness and threw my spear, and that was the last I ever saw of it. A few days later I left it too late and it despawned. Great place for lint, so we topped up on that before finally heading into the laboratory itself and seeing what had occurred to Wendell. This poor guy has lost a bit of weight, so it seems. Guarded by fire ants and of course infected, I'd spent so long exploring the undershed, it was now day 63. Just about made my way through before eventually turning the power on and then returning to the open doorway to take on the fearsome mant. There was just one little problem. There you go, stabbing him fresh, no! Yep, my spear that I'd yeeted and didn't bother going to get back was the perfect weapon for this encounter. But never mind, I'd taken on the mant a bunch of times before. He's actually one of the easier boss fights, as long as you know how to keep your distance when he goes exploding from the pimples in his back. Oh, here we go. Fire ant, fire ant, fire ant. Oh, and bombs, bombs. With my termite axe upgraded down the fresh path, I wasn't really having too much of a problem, and I'd still had plenty of heals. Got a nice shot of his tighty whities from behind, and in no time at all, I managed to finish him off. Yes! Woo! And another mutation, the mysterious stranger. Okay, we got out there. We did it. We did all right there. That was not bad. Not bad at all. Went and rescued Wendell. I kind of wish I didn't, as he's so useless when it comes to fighting. I ended up dumping him somewhere eventually, but of course it does progress the story. No, I'm the kid that's been trying to find you and hopefully get me rescued. Once I'd finished with him waffling, I went and grabbed of course the cooked raw science, or is it cooked science now I guess, and a few meals. And it was now time to finally leave the undershed alone, for a little while at least. Anyway, went and grabbed one of the figurines that's on the side and we'd done it. We also now got Rascal Rogue level 2, which meant I'd get even more chance of stealing bug pieces when fighting creatures. Spent the rest of the evening cooking up some upgrades, and then I made my way to see if we could finish off some missions. I was really starting to get nervous now that it transformed into a 100% challenge, that I wouldn't have enough raw science to buy all the shop upgrades. That's what you needed as well, and yeah, I definitely needed to boost my raw science. So it was a nice and fairly easy one, taking care of the gnats. And while I was here, I busted through the rock underneath the oak tree and got ourselves one of the gold milk molars here too. On the way home, I went and grabbed some of the firefly juice, and I had another death. So soon after the first one, I was feeling pretty bummed out that I got killed by just a ravaging raid of the orc creatures. Just goes to show, never take any bugs in Grounded for granted, no matter where you are or how good you think you are. No! Sugar! I did go back and get my revenge on them, at least when I got all my gear back. Day 64, I decided it was time to go and turn off the haze once I made some more upgrades for my armour. This time correctly drinking the right gastro goo to protect me as I went and got the gum and climbed up to the gas canister. You've got no choice. If you try and do a 100% challenge, you have to turn the haze off, as it's the only way that you can peep an infected wolf spider once of course they start spawning. I normally put this off quite a long time, as I still think it's beneficial just to hold off a bit longer so you don't have more infected creatures roaming around as well. But it would mean that I could explore the rest of the haze now, picking up more upgrade rocks and more milk molars. And that's what I did for the rest of the day, clearing out a bunch of the gullies and the trenches, taking on as many infected as I could and obviously getting as many upgrades. Also had a small little mission, not exactly giving me the most raw science, but hey, 100's 100. Again, I was also conscious that I'd have to find all 54 of the scabs, and I definitely hadn't been paying attention to some of the early areas, so I knew I'd have to revisit some eventually. After that, I made my way home and took care more of the fireflies, although they might have just about took care of me. I was actually super lucky this stink bug came along at the right time, as they were about to ruin me. The ladybug got involved as well, and I quickly took care of that before finishing off the job against all the rest of the fireflies. I definitely now had enough materials once I got some berry leather to make the mining helmet. I spent all day on 65 prepping mushroom bricks so that I could go around picking up some of the more hard to get milk molars in the sandbox, before stupidly deciding that I could maybe try the sand mixer without the actual right proper gear. The sand lines aren't actually that bad, and in the end it wasn't them that were causing me trouble, it was of course the sunlight about to stream in and cook me. It was going to be super tight whether or not I was successful here. They really were getting closer and closer to the mixer, and I was worried it was going to be damaged. I thought I'd managed to actually win. There's no way they destroyed it or damaged it. No! Oh no, it didn't last. Rip. Fail for now, would have to get them next time. After messing around with more zip lines to make my life easier getting to and through from the haze, I then went and got my favourite scab, which of course is Hot Dog Horror inside the bisque can near the pond. Make sure you tell me your favourite scab in the comment section down below. Day 67, it was a return to the undershed to try and get more of the green shells that I needed, the jewel ones, and hopefully maybe find my spear. But of course it wasn't there. I'd left it way too long to go back. Spear, this is exactly what happened last time. I yeeted my spear. I got the ump that I yeeted my spear. And I never used it for the rest of the playthrough. There's just so many resources that you'll end up gathering if you do a full sweep of the undershed. So always go in here pretty light. And of course there was good amounts of raw science to be had too. A little parkour up the pipes to hopefully get the milk molar and a whole bunch more lint. And then a pretty tricky jump, but as long as you do what I do, you should be able to make it to get yourself some more raw science inside the broken pipe, and of course jump across to get even more goodies. I've pretty much done it in sections, vowing to clear up the far end and then maybe returning later to do the rest of the undershed. Day 68, I finally made the mint mallet and I went to town on defending against another wave of all weavers. Only made slightly complicated by another stink bug coming in and getting himself involved. Little buggers had managed to get closer to my base than any of the other raids though, so I quickly had to deal with this guy, and you never know when a good weed stem's going to come in handy. As the evening drew to a close, I decided it was also now time to get myself a pet. I hadn't really bothered as much because of the extra inventory space that we now had, but things were getting a bit tight and I thought it could be a good idea to get one. My ideal pet would be the gnat. They seem to be a bit more troublesome and I got attacked by a bunch of mosquitoes as I was trying to get one. I guess these guys really just didn't like my cooking, because even when I went over to the light fitting, they still weren't interested. I did make a return the next day, but more to get the scab that was located on top. And then I tried once more to see if I could get one of the pets I wanted. At this point I just wanted any pet, let alone maybe having the gnat. The weevils weren't biting, nor the aphids over out on Rash's Island. I was just about to give up when I finally got myself a little weevil. Who's a good little snouty boy. On the way home I decided to stop off and also get some more of the scabs that I knew I'd needed, especially this one on top of one of the tripods, and I had another one that was going to be even more challenging to get. But this one you didn't need any outside building materials, just make sure your parkour was on point as I climbed up the stem. This is definitely one of them scabs that I think a lot of players might miss, as it doesn't always ping unless you're jumping right underneath it. Not exactly the most colourful one. I got home, gave my pet a little cuddle. Turns out he's a happy little boy, if maybe a little bit chaotic and evil. And we named him Spicy, after one of my favourite ratbags. Day 70 was absolutely action packed. I took a look at the ingredients that I would need to start up the mixer to hopefully make me big again, and we went and see if we could try and get hold of the power droplet. Not needed for 100%, but I just felt I might give it a whirl, but my parkour skills let me down. Also had my first proper encounter with wasps. These guys are no joke if you're not fully prepared. Literally had to make a hasty retreat because the drone was coming as well. This meant they were going to be super OP. I just didn't have the right armour or gear on for this. I should have maybe spent more time making sure my mutations were right, and Mithridism might have kicked in and helped a little bit here, but as it stood I didn't get enough of a chance and I was dead for the third time. I'd set my spawn point as the undershed previously when fighting against the mant, and that's where I ended up spawning, so I took the opportunity to run through and grab some more milk molars, as we were going to obviously need every single one. And it wasn't long before I managed to get my stuff back. I grabbed some pinecone for the first time, unlocking all new building materials, And I topped up on some more sweets as I hunted for some more of the milk molars in and around the upper yard. After a mini tussle with a ladybird, I went and took on some of the tiger mosquitoes for the first time too, but they were super easy with my fresh spear that I just recently crafted once more. Always felt like there should be more added to this lawnmower area and ladder, as it is just one big massive parkour challenge, and I quickly dived down. Luckily the tuft was equipped. Raw science got. I carried up on the vines and managed to go and get myself the key that would open up the special chest inside the tyre and finally give me explosive arrows. Just in case you didn't know, obviously bring your tier 2 shovel and go ahead and dig, and it should be underneath the gum. On the way down, grabbed the last of the milk molars hidden amongst the ladder, and I unlocked this sour mutation by eating some of the sour sweets that I managed to pick up as well, and another scab. Whoa, my god! That guy definitely had some Nike Jordans on, and I absolutely had the wrong weapon for taking these guys out. The dawn of day 71, I returned over to the tyre. Now that I had the key, I could get inside and get all the milk molars and the recipe for the explosive arrows. It's so much easier making a bunch of these now rather than having to go back through the anthill to get ant eggs. Also crafted my fridge for the first time, meaning I can now save and stock any of the meals that I came across or made. And we're missing some gum and some koi scales to finish off the embiggening cocktail. Decided to make sure everything was prepped, so I broke through the glass and made sure that the cocktail holder was in place. I just needed obviously to pick up the last ingredients. Everyone, shout out as well, there's a special secret that I don't think many people realise. Next to this plug socket, inside there, it's like a glitch. It messes up your game, but it basically makes you invincible. All you got to do is just jump into that hole there. On the way home, I glanced one of the most feared creatures for me, the infected wolf spider, and really decided, nope, not today. Grabbed a bunch of the koi scales needed from the pond, and got some more raw science and finished off a few more locations in the pond. We were really starting to build some up, but I still had work to do. Day 72, I spent upgrading my favourite armour set, the fire ant armour, as well as then going off and finishing off a few bits more near the dusty trenches and the wood pile. I wanted to get some more mint pieces, and I went and took out another Black Ops beetle, trying to store as many of these horns up either for Black Ops burgers eventually, or maybe upgrades. A little parkour up the spokes of the BMX, and we got ourselves 500 fat juicy raw science. I went and deposited all the ingredients that are now needed for the mixer, and we brewed the cocktail. Yes! Great success! Don't know about anyone else, but anything with toenail pieces in, I'm not totally down for drinking. As if it would be that easy to go big again. Yep, I had to do the final defense, of course, and that's something that we plan for a bit later. Took out some of the fire ants, and I had a cool funny moment with triple mants by my side, if only for a few seconds. And then I was filled in by Wendell on what more I needed to do. Maybe go and visit the mysterious person or creature living inside the Orc castle, as well as check out the Javamatic storage facility. So that's what I went and did, and got all the good resources from that. Lots and lots of smoothies, and of course lots of resources, as well as a ton of arrows, which would come in handy later, as I hadn't really been crafting too many, and of course the next figurine. Day 74, I started building out my corridor to the upper yard. I wanted it to be expansive enough to display all my armour sets. My original goal was to have all of the armour sets done by day 100, but as you'll soon see, that becomes a pipe dream. Day 75, I headed off to go and get more milk molars, absolutely wanting to get the most out of the buffs that I could get by getting more of the milk molars especially, rather than the golden ones. I forgot I needed the bomb arrows for this section though, so I headed over to the next cave, which had the jack ball inside that I'd have to move and use to get across to more upgrades and more milk molars. Really like this elements of Grounded. I hope they add more in the future updates where we can utilise things and environmental objects. I got ambushed by a ladybird on the way out, but just about managed to take care of her before moving on. Then it was over to everyone's favourite milk molar jackpot, the blue lid, which would give us access to the dental tub that had so many of them inside. And of course I picked up one of the next onlink cards as well. Beautiful milk molars, give it to me. Spotted another infected wolf spider that I might have to deal with later, and I got myself a whole ton of sour sweets just outside the fire anthill. And the last order of the day was to pick up a ton of clay needed for all of them armor stands and more. With huge nodes by the oak stump lab. Got home and started to fill them up, and then for the next 2 days I carried on gathering enough resources and building up the rest of my corridor and entranceway. I was probably going to need some more crow feathers, so that would be something we'd get later on. Also put up a ton of lights and change it to a nice bright white light to show off the armour more, before heading out on day 78 to see if I could get more than crow feathers by clearing out more of the haze and trenches that I'd missed. Including a tussle with another wolf spider by the tribute to Hammy the hamster, and of course picking his dead bones for another scab. Night was fading, but I wanted to carry on going through as I was really worried about the amount of days left, so I just went ham on clearing out all the rest of the haze. There are so many infected larvae in here, but I made swift work of them as I gathered up every upgrade stone, every resource like the crow feathers, and of course plenty of milk molars too. Oh, and of course, yeah, this is the one that's going to be taking for absolute ever to do and finish. You might have guessed what I might be leaving for the very end conclusion to this 100 days. Day 79 I started off by upgrading more of my armor sets with all of that supreme and sturdy rocks that we got, and I had to deal with an infected raid. Not too bad when you've got your trusty spear at your side, and then it was time to start doing the mixers, heading up to the easiest one first, the ants in the grasslands. Also managed to unlock stage 3 of Ant Annihilator, which was pretty handy. I then hit on this idea of trying to defend all of the mixers in the lower grasslands at least, without using any defences. Could I actually achieve it? Certainly this first one was easy with my Cortana taking care of all the ant soldiers. I almost felt sorry for them, honestly. I was just ripping them apart, as well as of course the mites. And it didn't take long at all before I completed the mixer. Yes! Okay, that was a lot easier than remembering. The raw science rewards were going to come in handy for sure in picking up all of the sign sets, which I'd need to buy to get 100%. I was heading over to the sandbox when I got ambushed by this guy on the way through the tunnel. And he managed to get a few licks in this time. It's crazy how scared I used to be of wolf spiders, but maybe not as much anymore. Maybe I was actually getting good at perfect blocking. Yeah, he did get me a couple times there. So as the morning broke, it was time for the rematch of the sandbox mixer. I was doing pretty well, but I realised that I still didn't have my antline armour on, and guess what? That daylight was about to hit once more. They're in the walls, man! They're in the walls! I really didn't want to waste any more time having to come back here another day. Yeah, I see him! I see him! Yeah, come on then, lads! You can't hit these guys when they're under the ground anymore like you used to, so you really do have to play a bit more patient and wait for them to emerge and then block them perfectly. I should have more of a vendetta against antlions since they ended my one life challenge, but I kind of respect them. They're chunky, they're slow, but they do hit like an absolute tank. Ooh. Yes! I'd just about done it without frying, and now it was time to head straight over and do the next one in the haze. This one's pretty easy as long as you know to focus on the actual infected mites, as they're the ones that can do the most damage, as you often don't realise they're shooting at the actual mixer. Of course the big explosions are going to roll in, and of course the ladybug, but they kind of get dragged towards you a lot, so as long as you stay in front you should be good. Of course you could build a Trump-esque wall across the way, but honestly it's just not worth it. As long as you've got something really good in terms of fresh on your weapons, and yeah, you take care of these guys. I held firm though, and we just about managed to win out with this last ladybug absolutely going ham, smashing her bombs everywhere, and I just about survived. For sure, if it had been the one life challenge, I would have built a massive wall just to be extra safe. Yes! I can't believe I've done that because I did panic and I didn't have the smoothie that I was trying to take. You saw I unlocked another level of guard dog. I'd actually forgotten to keep putting this on. I'd gone home for a breather after that, and so on day 81 I went over to the hedge to begin the next one. Not gonna lie, I wasn't sure if this could be done without any defences, as the larvae were pretty ferocious towards the end, and they often spawned right at the back of the mixer, so it could be hard to defend against all angles. I'd gone trigger happy with my explosive arrows, and of course the Cortana was still coming in pretty well. In fact, I'm starting to regret misaligning it earlier. The Cortana's still a great weapon, just needs a bit more of a boost for late game, I guess. My mixer had taken quite a bit of damage, and I was just about to think, nope, it's not going to happen. But the last wave of all wavers hit, and that was pretty much it. We did it again. Whoop whoop. Now there was only one more left in the lower yard. I went home again and prepped for the next one, and that's what we did on day 82, although unsuccessfully at first. The Black Ant soldiers are just too tanky, and I kind of had the wrong weapons. So it wasn't long before the mixer succumbed and got absolutely wrecked by the mosquitoes as well. Definitely would need to do some base defences. I'm sure if there is some way out there, you guys will let me know to do it without, and I'll see if I can test that a bit more for another guide in the future maybe. So it took all day to get the resources to build it back up, and that's what I ended up finishing off day 82 with, hopefully trying to be successful on the final lower yard mixer. Even with my defences, it was pretty close. The mixer had taken a bunch of damage, but we just about did it. Boom, baby, boom. Day 83, I went and cleared out the ladybird larvae cave and shortcut up to the upper yard, and there was obviously plenty of upgrade rocks once I got rid of the slew of ladybirds that would attack me. Spicy came along for the ride, and surprisingly, he managed to stay alive. But somewhat annoyingly, he kept stealing my axe. After gathering some resources from the undershed on day 84, I decided to go and take on maybe more of the wasps. I mean, I wasn't really planning on this, I just wanted to scope out what I would need to do maybe for this next mixer. And yes, my beautiful phase makes a return. I'm not going to lie, these were pretty tough. I definitely realised that I would need better gear to take on any more wasps. It was a pretty hard fight just getting rid of these three. But in the end, I just about managed to win out, taking on the drone, which perhaps is the most annoying. And then of course a bunch of fire ants joined in for the party. I just about managed to survive against them, and yeah, I realised I would need to build a whole ton of defences around this area with so many other creatures. I now also had enough parts that I could go ahead and make the fire ant shield, one of my favourites. And with that now equipped, on day 85 I went and cleared out all of the fire ant hill, getting all the upgrades and all the milk molars, taking care of this chunky boy on the way too. It had been a while since I'd been down the fire ant hill, and I forgot how confusing it can be with the various different corridors. Not to mention this parkour little jumping puzzle that I could not do a whole bunch of times. But eventually I managed to get my jumping boots on, and we did it. Grabbing the last milk molar, and that was it. I was headed out of there as soon as I could. Spent day 86 getting some upgraded materials and finishing off that one that I didn't have the bomb arrows for earlier, and again more milk molars and of course more upgrade rocks. It was getting to the point now where I'd run out of materials that I could really go ahead and get major upgrades for, tiers 8 and 9 with the Supreme, so I knew I'd have to go and get the recipe so I could craft my own. That meant a trip over to Moldorc Castle and to take on Director Shmectar. Not forgetting the cheesy way that you can get across without having to build, and of course getting all them sweet upgrade rocks underneath the castle. With just a little bit of help from some mushroom walls, that's all you really need to succeed in getting into the actual castle itself. And with the gear that I had, the tiger mosquitoes really weren't much of a problem, just annoying as always. Another brick placement and we were pretty much done. We'd got access to Moldorc's castle. Of course, grabbing Moldorc's scab, taking on the tiger mosquitoes on top of the roof, but I decided to leave them off for now, as this really just was one of the worst places to fight it, as I always got stuck in the little grooves on top of the playset. Once they were defeated though, I got the milk molar, and then we returned back down via the gold molar in the cage. And then it was into the tear to drop down and face off against Director Shmectar, as long as I could gain access at the doorway. Little bit of help from Wendell and Burgle, and we managed to get in, although we was immediately attacked by one of the orc fire ants. Once he was gone though, we got lots of materials from the chest, and I hadn't realised before that this was where you get the mouldy note, or I'd forgotten, so this would now mean we could take on the infected wolf spider eventually, after picking up one of the last statues. There was just one more left to get. And then it was the boss battle with Shmectar. This guy is an absolute pain in the butt, and yes, I know I have got the wrong weapon. Everyone loves telling me you don't actually need a sour hammer for this one, But there's just something about it. It's what I've always did. I did it when it first launched. I used the sour hammer to defeat it. Level 9, in fact, one of the first and maybe only weapon I managed to upgrade to level 9 was my hammer. I could have probably gone with a pinch whacker, maybe even the mint mace, or even a fire ant club, or even the broodmother club if I really wanted to waste them resources. But you know what, you stick with what you know, and this is what I did. Using the katana to take on the Orb-Weave Juniors, and then switching quickly and healing up and hiding underneath the great big massive screen. You're pretty much guaranteed not to get hit by the green lasers as long as you hug this wall. You've just got to make sure you don't get done in by the static charges. Look at the blurry concentration on my face as I try to stay alive, taking on the ferocious creatures. With patience and a lot of heals, I eventually finally did it.
Yes! Ah! Ah! Whoa! Whoa!
Them lasers just won't ever turn the hell off. It wasn't all good news though.
I don't get anything from... Oh, spicy!
Poor little Spicy, absolutely brown bread. You'll come again, my friend. I'll make you anew as an aphid next time so you can run away. Now I had the sour battle axe unlocked, that's what I was going to be aiming for, as it's still one of my favourite weapons. But with only 12 days to go, I was seriously low on the raw science needed to buy a whole bunch of the signs, as I'd managed to pick up pretty much every other upgrade. So ahead of a trip to the undershed again, I went and took care of some dumbbell spiders to give me that sweet, sweet raw science. I had thought I got everything on the undershed, but there was still a ton of raw science that I'd missed as well. I was making as many trips as I could to kill the scarabs. So this was it, the last lot of upgrade rocks left in the undershed, as I made my escape, taking on every single orb weaver it seemed in the game in this one little trench. Like, when did they add over 10 of these guys? I just don't remember there being that many. It come a little bit closer than I wanted, even with the most powerful weapon to deal with these guys, it was still a bit close with so many. I had more trouble with the Black Ox beetle above. You'd think I was playing Rust with the amount of third partying that was going on. This wolf spider getting in on the action and hitting me with his poisonous bite. Place your bets, who's going to win? Wolf spider or Black Ox beetle? Yeah, okay, wolf spider won. Which meant that I had to finish him off. And with the last bit of raw science got, that was it. No more returning to the undershed. Day 89 was another day filled with completing missions, hopefully getting enough raw science, and then eventually taking on another bunch of stink bugs so that I could craft the sour axe. Of course, realising it wasn't them that I needed, it was the green shield bug pieces I needed for the axe. I was also building up my smoothie supply by growing the mussel sprouts, which I need tons of for the bosses. Things have been going too well clearly, as I got absolutely murdered by a Black Ox beetle and a ladybird. I quickly rushed back though to get my revenge, kinda sick of them. I unleashed my explosive hell and quickly took care of the ladybird. In fact, I was just about holding my own, apart from that one time against the variety of creatures that live in the upper yard, before coming across what I really needed, the green shield bug itself. With the gas mask equipped, it really wasn't much of a problem, and now I had all the pieces needed for the sour battle axe. I was also trying to mop up the last of the milk molars now, and I knew there was one golden one inside the exposed pipe right at the back of the broken stump. It was kind of crazy that at the end of day 90 I hadn't even pissed off the wasps, so I set off doing that before venturing back home. But once again, these guys were no joke, and it took all of my skills to stay alive while maybe trying to kill them. I'd made the crucial mistake of aggroing them all instead of one by one, so that wasn't exactly helping. But of course it was good training for where I was going to be very soon, taking on the wasps in their own backyard, aka the brawny box. And I'm calling it now, forget everything else I've said, the wasp drone is absolutely the most annoying and grounded. It took me a ridiculous amount of time to kill it, eventually it was dead.
Oh my god!
Now only one thing left to do, disturb the hive, and hopefully this would be the trigger we'd need to then get inside the brawny box.
The wasp hides has been disturbed! Yes, we did it!
I raced home, crafted my axe, as well as got myself some of the wasp armour, and laid my head to rest. Day 91 and we'd done it. It was now time to venture into the death field box and see if we can maybe clear it out. My plan was to do this one trip, obviously get the recipe to take on the wasp queen, and then come home and get a few more upgrades before returning. Could I succeed in that? Let's see. The brawny boy box isn't actually that bad as long as you take it nice and slow. I of course grabbed all of the candies and the milk molars along the way, and my salty mace did the job against the ticks as well as the termites. If only I'd recorded this 100 days just a few weeks earlier, I could have missed out on the brawny boy box altogether, but I think it adds a nice extra new element to this. A quick parkour up the tasty head, and we got the milk molar sitting on top. Before doing it right this time and taking on the wasps one by one and drawing them to me. I did the same with the second group on top of the box near the science field station, and then of course over to the nest itself to pick up the recipe for this summons for the wasp queen and of course the brand new Omnant card. I didn't really have a choice in taking on the black widow that also lives here, as I needed to get the milk molar that she was guarding. It didn't really start well. I got pretty much poisoned almost straight away, and despite apparently no weakness or strength against it really, the explosive arrows seem to have done a really good job in starting off a good amount of damage, and then I wailed on her with my sour axe. I did have to have a pit stop breather because I was literally about to die, and then it was getting back in there and finishing off the job.
Yes!
I grabbed the milk molar and of course the black widow trinket inside the egg nest, and of course I didn't forget one of the new scabs that got added on top of the books just above the black widow nest too. Day 92 handed in the last of the technology chips finally to Burgle, and spent the rest of the day going around making sure I'd peeped every creature I could and exploring the final places that were missing in part of the data. As you might have seen from earlier, we had a ton left to discover, but I'd made really good progress. It was over for one final sweep of the trash zone on day 93, as this was one of the places I'd missed most of the data, and we picked up plenty of candies and then clambered on top of the rubbish bags to get right to the top for more raw science and a milk molar that I thought I'd already gotten, so it was a good thing I went and double checked. FYI, I do have the scanners, I'd obviously bought them, so this was definitely helping a lot, but there was definitely some issues with that always not pinging. After that, I hot-tailed it back over to the woodpile because I hadn't pinged the termite king. And then I was desperate to get more charcoal pieces as I needed to make more of the cement walls, which I pretty much finished the night cooking over, ready for the mixer defences. Day 94, it was still mopping up more of the molars that I knew I'd missed, like at the stump, and another return to the berry bushes to pick up the milk molar that was also hiding in here. The last Omnant card I needed was now finally working after being glitched and broken for a good few weeks. And to cap the night off, I went for a relaxing little fight with another black widow. Again, almost unavoidable because you need to get down here to get the next milk molar, although I realised later I could have just run past her. But by now I was really thinking I needed practice to take on the infected broodmother eventually, so this would be the closest thing I would get.
You need a proper club for the generic damage, which does a little bit extra. No! 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 Yes! Yes!
Thank God there's no debuffs for not ever sleeping, because I literally had not slept in about a week now, as I was desperate to use up every bit of time to complete and finish off everything, including the terrible parkour that I really hate at the vines up the wheelbarrow to try and get to the field station, and of course another molar, and I decided to take this guy on just in case I could maybe craft something useful with it.
Oh, it's free falling. I'll take this. I will take this. Oof. There we go. Oh, I got a gold card from that as well. Nice.
Day 95 was literally here. I'm either saying goodnight to these guys or wishing them happy breakfast, as I fought another black widow on day 95. And apart from that one hit, I feel like my perfect blocking was coming along just nicely. I grabbed the milk molar inside the layer and then went down and took on the black ox beetles to get the next milk molar. The sour axe gets much maligned because it doesn't really have that much of an improved stat against most creatures, but I do just like it, and I do feel like it does maybe give a bit more stun damage to a lot of creatures, and I don't care what the data miners find, that's what I'm going with. I'd somehow never got the actual scab on top of the poncho box, so that was next on the list, and then probably one of the toughest ones to get, that I ended up having to build a huge, massive, really irregular stairway made out of clay to go and get this one right up top. After this, I was pretty much only missing one more scab to get. I just had one more data location to find and I was done with all of that as well. So where was that missing scab? Well, of course it was on the picnic table. I'd totally forgotten about it being under the paper plates. You wouldn't believe how much clutch this came in, getting double bubble on these raw science points, as I frantically kept on trying to do as many of the quests as possible to claw back any I could. So that's what I was doing come day 96, getting that and plenty more of the Brussels sprouts because I was about to take on the Wasp Queen. Once I'd crafted smoothies, it was time to head straight over and take her on. I could not afford to lose this, I had to win this very first attempt. So I'm not going to lie, I did go and practice a whole bunch before this on a whole bunch of the bosses just to make sure I get it right.
Get underneath, mostly.
But no matter how much practice you have, sometimes it's just really tough. For sure, easily the most annoying boss in Grounded. That said, I think without any of her summons, I think she'd be pretty easy to fight against, as it's often the drone that really gives me the most trouble because it's hard to hit while trying to also stay out of the way of the Wasp Queen.
Gotta get the drone! Gotta get that drone! No! Ah!
In the end, there were simply too many of them actually spawning, so I decided to focus purely on the Queen itself and hopefully have enough heals to tank me through, and that seems to just about do the trick.
Yes! Come on! Please! Please! Yes! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
One boss down, 2 to go. With time running out, I'd already had the building materials with me to go ahead and start making sure the defense mixers were going to be okay, but I didn't have any more additional heals. I'd left them back at my base. A few blood bags and a couple of the wasp dotes, that's about it. But I started it up anyway and I took aim at the ticks attacking first. The spicy weapon, the perfect thing here. Then stuff got real bad real quick as the bunch of the tiger mosquitoes started attacking as well. Quickly switched to my fresh weapon and then back to the spicy katana to take on the wave of ticks that were demolishing the lower half. Got level 3 of Blade Master, nice. Then back to taking on another wave of the tiger mosquitoes. Catastrophe nearly hit though as I was taking on this guy. I got knocked into the bottom of the defense and I couldn't get out.
I fell down. I won't be able to get out. I just got to hold up.
Honestly, the most scared I think I've ever been in Grounded. Praying and hoping the walls would hold out as I defended the mixer to the last.
Get out of here. You'll never win. No.
I don't know how, but by some miracle I did it.
Yes! Suck your mums. Suck you mosquitoes. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Of course, there was no time to waste. I had to pick up all of the building pieces as I would need them for the next defense. And that's where we headed off on day 97. Without Force Pendant, it was really tight. I couldn't go back home and get any more heals. I really regretted not having a decent blood stealing build on me.
I've got like every creature in the fucking yards at me.
Wee bit stressed? Yeah, maybe. You might notice that I'm using quite a mixed hodgepodge of armour. Apart from the ant armour, the fire ant armour, and maybe the speed boots, I didn't really have a whole ton of extra full suits. So really, the poison build could have come in clutch here if I'd gone and killed the broodmother a bunch more times. This was the problem in rushing to 100 days to get everything done. I simply just wasn't equipped for some of this late game activity as much as I could have been. The fire ants were absolutely everywhere, but I was just about holding them down, of course, until the roly-polies turned up. With my armour breaking slowly, I just really didn't have much of an answer for these guys. I tried wailing as best as I could, but of course, this happened. Death number 5.
No, I can't get in.
Unbelievably, my defences had managed to hold up while I died.
Yes! Did it! Oh my god, I can't believe I did it. I mean, I didn't really do it. The defences did the work there. Oh my god, leave me alone.
This time I did run back home, got myself a few extra smoothies and repaired some of my armour. By now I just abandoned a lot of my cement buildings and grabbed as much of the mushrooms as I could to build mushroom walls. I did however have more pine cone, so I made a few of these ramps, so these would be pretty crucial. More fire ants and more roly-polies. This ended up being one of the easiest ones. I had more time to lead up and take care of the roly-polies further away, and the slightly raised terrain was also helping me take care of the ants and the following waves. I know there's more efficient ways to protect these mixers. Honestly, I was just in a panic and just put down as many walls as I could.
Yes! Defended all the mixers and the super mixers. Woo!
And I so desperately needed all of this raw science. So day 98 had already started. Obviously, I quickly went home, got some more of the mushroom pieces and the last remnants of my healing for now. It was time to do the final defense. To be fair, this ended up being a lot less stressful than any of the others because I obviously built a huge amount of defenses. My sour arrows were doing the job taking care of the fire ants, and obviously anything sour is going to do a good job for you here. I was also able to keep at bay some of these guys, and I did remember to put on guard dog again for this one.
No, okay, now it's time. Let's go.
Also, a big shout out to my controller that was making an unbelievable amount of noise.
Yeah, go on. Go, 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 go.
So after this, all I had to do was go and take on the little old mantis, the infected broodmother, and pray I had enough raw science to buy all of the burger unlocks. This is why you go ahead and craft and upgrade your sour axe as much as possible. It's perfect for dealing with the orc enemies. Fire ants, dust mites, and of course bombardier beetles, they were no match for me and my axe, and a few arrows too.
Oh, it's definitely easier once you've done all the mixers. In the past, I haven't had the guard dog mutation equipped. We did it! Woo!
The mixer was working, the embiggening cocktail was being brewed, and I was going home.
Get in!
I grabbed the cocktail, quickly ran home, got some more healing, and then ran straight to the mantis boss fight.
Okay. Okay. Remember, I've got to look at him. Peeked.
To be fair, the mantis was a lot easier than I remember it last time, although for sure there were some moments where it nearly done me in. For some reason I've gone for a tick sword, thinking a lifesteal build would be pretty good.
That better? Chopper? Yeah, let's try chopper. Let's try chopper. Where's my axe? Where's the axe? Yeah, let's try chopper.
But honestly, I was just relying on the termite axe so much now in the late game, it ended up being the go-to weapon. Definitely had trouble though because I had the wrong boots on. I know, I should have thought about all of this, but I was honestly so panicked about trying to get this done in time, as I needed at least a day or and a half to maybe try taking on the infected. In the end, I returned to the tick sword to finish off the job and hopefully try keep stealing some life.
Yes! Yes!
Apex Predator baby, and look at all these sweet achievements that I was getting for the first time on Steam.
Just one more, just one more. Oh, I've got all the data guys, all the data, all the chips, all the stuff, all the research notes. I just got to get that one statue. I've got all the places. It should be 100%. And I'm pretty sure I've got all the scabs. 54 of them, I think.
Quickly scanned the mantis pieces and I did end up crafting the axe and then checked what else I had left. I needed 4,000 more raw science to get the last sign set. I decided to worry about that later. It was time to go and get the moldy hoagie up and running. And one last check of all of my cards. I spent the rest of the evening crafting up the maximum amount of smoothies I could, and didn't forget to go back over to the Black Ant Hill and get my reward for completing all of the mixers now that the door was open. A ton of upgrade rocks, but more importantly the statue and of course the pinch whacker. Now the statue is the only thing you need for the 100%, you don't actually need to collect the weapons, but yeah, you get the idea. Rascal Rogue level 3 unlocked. I did end up running back home to see if I could craft any more stuff that might help me, and did manage to squeeze out a few more smoothies. And so on day 99, this was it. I headed over to the infected broodmother's lair. Okay, we've got to do this. We've got to get this right. Peep, don't forget to peep. So like I told you guys, I did a lot of practice before taking this guy on. But in all my practice, I'd been using maxed level gear, and I totally forgot about that by the time I loaded up my actual 100 days world. My spear was only like level 7, maybe level 8, and while my armour was mostly level 9, I still felt like I was a bit underdeveloped here. But I held my own through the first stages, only getting bit once, and my perfect blocking was definitely improving. I'd gone with 4's pendant because I hadn't managed to pick up one of the fungal growth charms, and we managed to take him down, but he didn't give me any rest. He totally spawned straight away and he's meant to go on his back for a few seconds. This did put me off quite a bit. I had to recover quickly. She did manage to nab me a few times, but luckily I had a big well of smoothies to back me up. It was all about trying to avoid the shout and scream, as that was the one that did the most life or resistance damage to you. No, leave me alone. Ow, you son of a bitch. The first and second phase was always something that I was able to do easily. It was the third phase that I must have died about 15 times in my practice runs. She also did that same thing again where she didn't actually rest up when I killed her the second time. She just carried on wailing on me. I've now used up pretty much all the rest of my other smoothies, and I only had a few more of the raging ones, and of course the mega heals. I've been trying to avoid using any of the heal bassers. They were quite fiddly to use, and I always panicked a bit whenever I was trying to drop some. It's when it gets to the halfway point that things get really tough. She starts firing out more of her shots, I swear, and the gas was just obliterating me every time she screamed also. But the explosions were the things that were killing me the most in my practices. The secret to success with this is you've got to have a high powered weapon, because you've got to do as much damage to her as she's trying to do to you. You can't be super passive, you can't keep just running away. You've got to go in on the attack. Like sure, not run up to her when she's got a whole bunch of explosions around her or the gas, but you do need to not be too passive and try and line up as many hits as possible with a fast moving fresh weapon. I had over 70 healing debuffs by the time I managed to kill her. Woo! I honestly couldn't believe I'd managed to do it. Spore Lord activated, broodmother done and dusted. But I had no time to lose. I had to get at least 1,000 more raw science to go ahead and get the last picture set. Thankfully it was fairly easy, taking out 5 orb weavers, and we quickly did it. That's it, we've done it. We've done it. I'd grinded so much in so many missions in between all the adventures you'd seen, and we just about had enough. Of course, I didn't have enough resources to go crafting any of the infected broodmother weapons or armour. I settled though, knowing that I'd completed everything else I needed. I started this 100 days challenge 7 months ago. It took me a good long time, and so many of these episodes you can see as feature length Let's Plays. So go and check them out in the playlist on my channel. And we will be returning. I'm going to keep this save. I want to see if we can craft up every other armor set. Maybe max out every major weapon and get ready for the next big grounded update. With nothing left to do but insert the embiggening cocktail, go and talk to Wendell one last time. It was time to go big and go home. But we weren't finished yet. I still had to check to see if we were going to get that all important 100% scorecard. So once I dealt with the orc creatures once more, it was time. Go on! Get in! Super win and go big, baby! The last of the achievements that I'd never actually got. Oh, it's been emotional. This has been about 7, maybe 8 months of me doing this. We finally got there. We'd of course got the good ending, which meant that we'd stopped director Shmectar, restored Wendell's pride and reputation, and made sure that he wasn't no longer a raisin, returned him to his family, and we went and got Burgle and helped join and create a brand new science club for maybe future adventures. Okay, moment of truth. It should be 100 days, 2,000 creatures, 165 grass,
1,400. Yes! Get in. I honestly couldn't work out where the other death had come from. I must have missed it in my editing of down the footage, but we done it, 100% score. This challenge started off as a fail, not being able to complete the full game without dying once, but we did turn it into something positive. Thank you so much if you stuck around to watch this whole video. And shout out to all the ratbags, like I said, that maybe have watched some of my Let's Plays and live streams where I've done this on the channel. Go and check them out, like I said, and give me some ideas about what other 100 days of Grounded, or maybe even some other games you'd like to see on the channel. And to coin a phrase from the Grounded dev team, stay safe everyone, and don't forget to stay grounded.